Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 7th meeting of the Senate Standing Committee on Economic Development, Tourism, and Labor. Thank you all for being here. I always ask if you have a cell phone, please turn that to silence or vibrate as we conduct our business day. It would be greatly appreciated. I do see a quorum, but Sasha, if you would, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Funky Fromeyer. Senator Gardler.
Here.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator Howell.
Here.
Senator Mills.
Here.
Senator Storm.
Here.
Senator Thomas. Senator Wilson. Senator Wheeler.
Here.
Chairman Wise.
Present. We do have a quorum. Thank you, members, for being present on time. We have one bill on the agenda today for consideration, that being House Bill 13, an act relating to the Kentucky Product Development Initiative and declaring an emergency. Representative Bowling, welcome to the committee, sir. I appreciate you being here and the bill you're presenting before us today. And the floor is yours. If you'll just introduce yourself for the record, and we'll proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of committee, for hearing House Bill 13 today. House Bill 13, if you'll remember from the 2022 session, House Bill 745, we introduced the Kentucky Product Development Initiative, which is a partnership between the Cabinet for Economic Development and the Kentucky Association of Economic Development that evaluated, scored, and ranked economic development projects throughout all 120 counties across Kentucky. And we've got the Cabinet here today. They're in support, and the association as well. They're in support. And if you all ask some real specific questions, I will be calling on them to come up and help me answer them. But in the 2022 budget that we passed, we allocated $100 million to PDI, which is what we call it. The program has worked really, really well. When you look at maps of who all has had access to this, who all has moved forward with applications, who all has gotten projects recommended and work being done, they're spread out all the way across Kentucky, from east to west, north, south. They're sprinkled all throughout. And so the bill that we passed, we envisioned it as being a 2-year bill. We wanted to see how this worked. We didn't know, would nobody access this program? Would nobody take it up? Well, it's worked well, so we need to plan on how we're going to continue to address this moving forward. In both the House budget that's been put forward this year and the Senate budget that's been put forward, another $75 million has been allocated for this program. And so this bill right here, it makes changes and addresses the program moving forward. Again, the first bill, we kind of put it out there. Let's do 2 years. Let's see how it works. Well, it's working really well. So let's
Motion on the bill.
make the changes and move forward.
We have a motion and a second. We do have a member with a question or comment. I first just want to say thank you, Representative Bowling. Thank you, Mr. Secretary and Katie. We had, members, you may remember in the interim, a very good discussion and presentation by the Cabinet on KPDI. Very supportive of what we're doing, and I really thank you for bringing this. Thank you also for mentioning about the budget process. That was going to be one of my questions to you, was about that. But we do have a question from Senator Funky Fromeyer.
I love this program.
All right.
And am grateful that you brought it back up in front of us. And I see Katie sitting behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I've seen some of the results being on the capital projects and bonds oversight. But I'm not clear how many dollars have been spent. And with the new appropriation, if we can achieve that, of $75 million, how rapidly did we spend the last pot? Is it spent down? I guess that might answer the question if we know what's still in the bucket.
So currently, like in the first round, a total of 55 projects were recommended. $36 million was spent to cover those. On the second round, there's been 47 that have been recommended, and that's around $68 million. So they still have money in their account because they're still going through all the approvals to actually get the money out to the communities. But that $100 million that we put in, it has been, for lack of a better word, claimed or tagged to specific projects that are in the process of finally being let and put out. Is that correct?
Please proceed.
Thank you. And follow up, I do see that we have Secretary Knoll here. I wondered if perhaps...
Mr. Secretary, would you like to come to the table, please?
If you might be willing to acknowledge whether this new appropriation and what you envision.
Well, first of all, thank you all for allowing us to be here.
Right there. There you go.
not very good at this kind of stuff, but thank you all for being here, and thanks for all the great work and for your leadership in pushing this through. And just one little add to your question. First of all, we're oversubscribed. There's commitments have been made. We have lots of projects that were part of the review process that did not get funded. And while all the money is not out, that's actually a really good thing, because we've designed this program such that there's a recommendation made to the cabinet to fund, and then our team goes through every analysis that you can imagine to make sure that all of the source and uses of funds, all the elements necessary, the engineering work on that site's been completed. And when all of that then gets completed, and then the additional other leverage funds or local match funds are available, we start to disperse the money, and then we have a follow-up to make sure that everything is done appropriately. So it's a timing issue, but it's also done in a way, I think, to help the project. And not only are we very supportive, we believe the leverage factor here is remarkable. I mean, we've had judges in communities that got turned down during the pilot and turned down during phase one that said the independent consultant that reviewed the project and gave them advice, one judge said, I would have spent $50,000 to get that kind of insight for what we should be doing in terms of sites and doing work in a community. And what's also great about it is the amount of funding is bringing groups together to talk about what do we got to do on workforce to get ready for the opportunity. What do we need to do to bring in the tourism folks to make that a part of the fabric of what we're doing within the community. And quite candidly, on the last round, which is what we anticipate going forward, we had 11 applications that were basically multi-counties, counties that came together and said, let's collaborate and coordinate. And we're actually out on doing tours around the state right now, encouraging local communities that if it is funded again, to think bigger, find better ways to bring about more regionality so we can get bigger sites in the process. And I hope that answers your question.
Please proceed.
And then how do we measure the return on this investment? And is that part of the cabinet's desire to receive that information as to what were the results?
Well, somewhere I think I have a tattoo given to me by my former boss which said, if you can't measure it, don't do it. And I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but we did track and measure during the pilot project. And I think somewhere around $1.8 billion of private investment and several hundred jobs followed up on those sites that were funded during kind of the test period of this program. And so, yes, we will be monitoring and tracking and measuring at multiple levels. A, what other federal funding and other funding was brought into the industrial park or the area in which these funds were requested? What kind of work is being done to be ready for the opportunities? And then we actually, on a qualitative basis, track and understand how well is the local community doing in terms of being prepared, presenting themselves, and sharing it. And then the ultimate factor and measure is how many jobs were created as a result of this investment, how much private sector investment was put into it, and we intend to monitor these things, quite candidly, over many, many years to come, because some areas may not get an immediate project, whereas others we're already seeing some projects coming in. But one metric we do track, and that is how many prospect visits are these sites in these areas getting, and those numbers are up. But keep in mind, we have a pipeline to fill of the funding, the work to be completed, the dredging or the site preparation that needs to be done. All that takes time, but we do track, we do measure, and we're glad to come back during the interims and make presentations with what those numbers and metrics look like.
Absolutely. Thank you all. We have a motion. We have a second. Seeing no further questions or discussion, Sasha, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Funky Fromeyer. Senator Girdler. Senator Harper Angel. Senator Howell. Senator Mills.
Aye.
Senator Storm. Senator Thomas. Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Senator Wilson.
Explain my vote.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to vote aye, but I'm going to ask that it not be put on consent because it is still in budget negotiations right now with $75 million each year. So that's my only request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Chairman Wise.
I vote aye. The motion does carry. We will not place this on consent. Representative Bowling, thank you. Secretary Knoll, thank you for being here. Testimony.
And Mr. Chairman, I want to say thanks to everybody on this body. This is a perfect example, and hopefully we're living up to our end of the bargain, but we think the ongoing communications, the transparency of the program, the interaction, the calls we get from all of you in terms of the project. We think that's a really great part of the process, and we appreciate what you all are doing and the way that we've been able to work together.
Thank you. Thank the work of your staff also in the back. Members, at this time, this is all we have in terms of agenda for today. I will say, as we know, right now we're in a very busy time. We're very fluid. We could call a meeting together upon adjournment at any time. So please just look for emails or anything like that. But as of right now, there's no further need for today's business. I have a motion for adjournment.